Welcome back to CompSci. And in this video, we're going to talk about topic 1.2.4, which is asking us to identify the relevant stakeholders when planning a new system.
This is a short topic, and we're really going to spend a little bit of time talking about the stakeholders involved in your IA and your IA planning, which you have due pretty soon.
So, quickly, the definition of a stakeholder is a person with an interest or concern in something.
So your client, in this case, is your stakeholder. Your end users are also kind of stakeholders. You, in this case, because it's your IA, you're also a stakeholder in this. Where for a software manufacturer, I don't really know if the software manufacturer would really be a stakeholder. I guess they kind of would be. They're making money off it, I guess. So pretty much anybody who has some kind of concern or interest in that thing that's happening is a stakeholder.
So when you're thinking about stakeholders and how they are involved in your system and you're planning a new system, there are three important questions that you should be asking yourself to really know what's going on.
These are also questions you should be asking yourself right now about your IA.
So the first one is, who will the end user be? So it might be your client for your IA. It might be other people as well. I know some of you are doing things for a whole club or for the school or for a company. There's a lot of different end users that could be involved. So making sure you're aware of them and what their needs are, which is what question 2 is. What are the needs of the end user?
Yeah, don't just think about your client. Like, for example, you're making a game for your client. Your client will probably share that game with other people. And let's say it's a huge hit, and you want to put it on Google Play Store or the the Apple iTunes
App Store,
whatever it is. Well, your end user is not then just your client. It's everyone who you then share it with. So you're not just thinking about the needs of your client. You're thinking about every single person that has some kind of interaction with that game. If you're developing a website, you're not developing it technically for the end user not to be your client. Your client's not really using that website. It's going to be all the people that go to that website.
Which leads us to the third question, which are there any other stakeholders? And some of those people might be other stakeholders. You might have kind of secondary clients that you want to throw some ideas off of. So maybe other classmates in here might be interested in your game. You can throw some ideas, bounce them around with them as well to get their opinions. Because if you're having a ton of different people using this, the opinion of one person is not everyone's opinion. So try and get ideas, feedback from all of those different stakeholders besides just your main client that you have to identify.
Especially if you're doing a website. If you're doing a website, let's say for a company or somebody that needs a website for his business or her business, you don't want to just ask that person what they want in their website because they're just going to give you information about things that they want to share. You would also want to know what people going to that website would like to see. Maybe some kind of scheduling, maybe some kind of contact information that your client had missed.
These are the different parties that are usually involved in creating a system and working with a system. So there's the system analyst, the end users, the software manufacturer, and the client company. We kind of talked about end users already. The systems analyst...
We also did talk about in topic 1.1.
Yeah. For system analyst, we were just talking about it, and we're not 100% sure if that really is going to fit into your IA. It is still something you need to know that they are involved in the creation of a system.
Look, it fits in the real world. We talk about systems analysts when you're talking about like an operating system. Sure, like being it rolled out to a school district. Let's say they decide tomorrow that we want to go to Apple instead of using Windows. Well, you need a systems analyst there to kind of decide, well, we don't have the proper hardware requirements. We don't have the proper training, and all that stuff needs to be kind of gathered and taken care of before they can roll out the new OS. But in the case of your IA, is there really a systems analyst? We were debating that, and we think you're kind of the systems analyst, although you're not really worried about, you shouldn't really be too worried about what kind of system that people are going to access your IA with, like your website that you're coding for some person. Do you have to worry about what computer is going to be able to access it? I don't really think so.
The software manufacturer is you. You're creating the software. That person is obviously always involved. And then the client company as well. So the company that this is actually being created for has to be involved in your system. All right, so we're at example question number 2. So if you have been going through all of these in order, you should have already seen example question number 1.
And hopefully handed it in.
So as you're going through this, it's up to you how you want to hand them in. If you want to handwrite them on a piece of paper and physically hand them in to us, that's fine. If you want to have a Google Doc that you are typing them into and you want to share that with us, that's fine too. Whatever way is going to have it so that they're organized for you is totally fine.
Also, do not hand them in on December 11th because the test is December 12th. Don't hand them on December 11th and ask us for feedback on it. There's no way I'm going to get through all your example problems and everyone else's example problems on December 11th. So if you think you're right and you want to hand it on December 11th, that's fine. But if you want feedback from us, you hand it in early.
So this question is saying that most university students have computers with internet access. The World Wide Web can be a useful resource when researching educational information for classwork and homework and can be used to communicate by chatting online. Discuss possible advantages to university students when chatting online.
What I think is interesting about this question, it does not say anything about disadvantages. So we're not going to be worried about all the negative stuff that could happen by allowing university students to chat together online, which we could probably come up with a huge list of all the problems of what would happen if you have university students chatting online. But let's talk about some of the advantages. Actually, we're not going to talk about some of the advantages, but what you should be worried about is, what are the advantages? Think about your own situation where you're studying for a physics test or a chemistry test, whatever class it is. What advantages do you get out of talking to your lab partners, your peers, your colleagues in the class?
Now, this is relating back to this topic of stakeholders because those university students are stakeholders in the system that's happening. So whether or not they have that ability to chat online is a big influence for them. So you should be writing this out. Again, it just says discuss possible advantages, but notice that advantages is plural, so you should not have only one. And you should try and write in full sentences to really communicate your idea clearly.
And don't be super specific about how they're chatting online. Like, we don't care if they're using AIM, which I know is dying, or they're using Remind or GroupMe or anything like that. That part is not really relevant here. This question was written a while ago, and it was probably at some point when chatting online became a new thing. But now, instead of talking about our new technologies for chatting online or like FaceTime or anything like that, we don't care about that. Just talk about the advantages of being able to share things online.
So whenever you have that question done, you can hand it in to us. Like you said, I wouldn't wait until the end to just kind of hand in all of your questions at once. You'll get better feedback from us if you do it as you go along. We will tell you this was good, you might want to add more here, do a little bit more here. But make sure that you're continuing to read through all of the presentations and that you are answering all the questions. I believe there are 10 questions in total throughout the topic. That's it.
That's it. Have a good night.